All right, daily ticker time on a Thursday, presented by our good friends at Pelican Brewing Company. With the return of warmer weather, Pelican brings back its summer seasonal beer, Pelicano, available in clear glass bottles. It's refreshment that you can see. Not often this happens that you text a guest, or not a guest at the time, but just somebody who's in the know, ask them a question, and then they turn it into content because it leads to an interesting conversation.
I did not expect that.
We see the video and we're like, hey, that was us. Let's get them on. Let's talk about it on our show.
Yeah, why couldn't I get a name drop at the minimum?
Name drop. We'll have to bring that up. Joining us now, good friend of the show, David Samson, former executive of the Marlins. Nothing personal with David Samson live every day on YouTube, at David P. Samson on Twitter. Go give him a follow. We were missing the name shout out, but the question remains, David, and I think a lot of fans here in this area are very curious about it. I just read another op-ed in our local paper yesterday about how this new funding bill is a home run for Oregon. When the news breaks that we got this bill, $800 million or whatever it is, coming from taxing player salaries, you used to work in a front office in Major League Baseball. What does it send? What kind of message is Major League Baseball seeing with that announcement?
Well, it's part of a puzzle, and I'm so sorry that I didn't actually read directly your text. It would have been a funny way to introduce the subject, because jock taxes and ticket taxes and user taxes, the reason why you talk that way when you're trying to raise public money is you're talking to voters and to people in the community who say, hey, that sounds great, but I don't want to pay for it. I'm really excited for a team. I'm happy to go to a game, but don't make me a part of the funding. And so it can be a personal seat license where, hey, you buy a ticket, you pay part of the funding of the ballpark. What a jock tax is, what this bill really was saying that there will be major income tax, major taxes paid by people making major wages. And you'll have 26 people, 10 of whom will make, $800,000 at a minimum, but 3 or 4 of whom could be making 10, 15, 30, 40, $50 million. We'll take all that money, we'll put it together and say, but for if these players weren't here, this team wasn't here, we wouldn't have this money, and we'll put it into the ballpark. The problem is that what a community is supposed to be doing is attracting business, attracting a tax base, and then providing services to its community, to its constituents. And the real question that's always asked is, will professional baseball or professional sports in general add to the community in a way that will make it more attractive to other people, other businesses, and to the people who already live there? And that's the age-old question that governments ask.
So help us on the other side of this. You've done this. You did this with the Marlins. You helped build and get the funds for the new stadium the Marlins had a few years ago. And so you've actually experienced this within a community. If there's a jock tax and the group that is funding this says it's all being paid for privately, what are the expectations from the community side that maybe aren't getting enough notice that we're in for that we don't know yet?
Yeah, just know that when people say they're building something privately, they're not really being forthcoming. There is no building like that built anywhere in the country that is solely done with private funds. It can be announced that, and you can spin it that way. But so, for example, what you would say is, I'm building the ballpark with just private funds. However, I need the public to help with parking garages or parking land, or I need the public to help with infrastructure, connecting utilities to building a new power plant or having a power plant connected to the ballpark to make sure the lights never go out. Or I need some sort of extra infrastructure for ingress and egress. Or I need some sort of capital fund to help with the upkeep of the ballpark in future years. There's always going to be something that the government does, which is okay by me because governments help businesses every day. Mm-hmm. They help attract business. They give tax breaks to businesses. That's all very normal, but it just gets a lot more attention when the perception is that you're helping a quote-unquote billionaire instead of the common person.
Interesting. We're talking with David Samson. You can check out his show, Nothing Personal with David Samson, daily on YouTube, former president of the Miami Marlins, at David P. Samson on Twitter. Go give him a follow there. It's interesting because I feel like we've asked this question of you a million times, and the answer is probably always evolving because we're still waiting for an answer from the league itself. But where do you think they're at on all of this? We are eagerly awaiting any sort of good news, and it's like 80 degrees today here, and we got listeners texting in, God, what a great day for Major League Baseball game. But the reporting has always been, we're not going to do anything until the A's are figured out and the Rays are figured out. Well, now the Rays stadium basically got wiped out by a hurricane. They got to rebuild it. The A's are an embarrassment. They're playing in a AAA ballpark in Sacramento, and they don't even know if their future is still Vegas yet firmly. Where do you think the sport and the league is at on all of this right now and how it shakes out, impacting Portland and Salt Lake City?
So the first thing I would tell you is never make a decision based on the greatest or the worst moment that you're having. So 80 degrees, sunny, gorgeous. Make sure you don't say, oh, the weather's always perfect. We don't need a roof. We don't need anything. Because that's a really common thing that people do is they have total recency bias and don't think about things other than what they see directly in front of them. Secondly, I would tell you that anyone who is misleading you, either within or without the administration and the commissioner's office, just know that there is no city that's been chosen because there hasn't been a bake-off yet. And the bake-off is when the cities compete against each other at the highest levels. We're talking at the level from governor all the way to mayor to local councils and boards, because what the league is doing has to compare and contrast is who's going to pay the biggest fee. And the ownership group that pays the biggest expansion fee is the ownership group that's going to have the most public money helping with the ballpark get built, because a new ballpark will have to be built in any of the expansion cities. And you don't get everyone's best bid until you know the rules of the game. And right now, baseball has not even given the rules of the game. There's no timeline. There's no way for anybody to do internal financial projections because you don't know when people will start paying to get tickets to go to games. You don't even know what season the new teams would start. So therefore, what Portland's doing, and you're seeing it in Orlando, you're seeing it in Salt Lake City, you've sort of seen it in Montreal, but not really. You're seeing it in Nashville. What you're seeing is cities saying, what can we do short of putting a bid together? And that is doing these PR releases, keeping baseball up to informed about, hey, we've got these pockets of money. We don't know how they all fit together. We don't know how much you want. But look, we have all this money waiting. We're just waiting for you. And that's exactly what baseball wants you to do.
When I reached out to you yesterday, David, to come on, we were talking about YouTube stuff, and so I didn't want to waste too much of your time because I know you're super busy, but I was going to text you stuff about the Blazers, and I don't know how much you know about their ownership situation, but Paul Allen passes away, and they're run by a trust, and Jody Allen is kind of the face of the trust. People that work for the team will tell you that's the owner. She's great. She's supportive. Everybody knows she does not care about basketball. She is a football fan, and that's kind of about it. Burt Cold is Paul Allen's longtime best friend, been here since the 80s. We all assume he's kind of actually the one calling the shots because he does like basketball. How do power dynamics work internally with franchises when they're being run by trusts and owners that, or faces of owners that don't really care as much about the day-to-day or the sport in general?
You know, it's funny because there's a bunch of cities that have owners who care so much about the sport that they're labeled as meddling and that it becomes, and then fan bases get unhappy.
Yeah.
And so I laugh because it just seems that there's no position for an owner to be in to ever be popular other than spending money and winning. But let me just point out what's happening with the Blazers. That trust has to sell the team. It's not even a question because the estate plan for Paul Allen called for the team to be sold and the proceeds to be put into a foundation. There will be a new owner of the Trailblazers. The fact that Adam Silver has not helped this process along and the fact that the executor of the estate has not had this progress and the sale go faster is really surprising to me. And so I would look for this team to be put up for sale in the next 12 months. It makes no sense to me that it's been held this long. But again, with any owner, just be aware that you may be getting a great billionaire who loves basketball and then turns into Matt Ishbia. Well, and then you've got a situation where you're despondent beyond repair because your team stinks.
Fair counter. Also, I at least know what Ishbia sounds like. Jody Allen has never once talked with
7
anybody
years,
locally
never given an interview.
in the media. I ask you this. You say 12 months. Do you make that prediction or thought because you assume Silver's going to announce expansion this summer?
I think that it's actually funny that you say that, because what's related is you need to have ownership groups who are out there understanding the entire menu of available franchises. So if there's expansion franchises, Seattle, Vegas, let's just say for the purpose of this discussion, but you've got other groups around who are looking to invest in teams, you want to make sure that they understand what's available and what the different price points are, because it's Adam Silver's goal to get upward movement in prices of teams. And what's going on with the Celtics is an outstanding number for Adam Silver, where you've got a number between 6-1 and 7-3 for that franchise. And that's coming on the heels of figuring out what the expansion fee is going to be, much like in baseball, what they're doing. And where the Portland franchise will be is somewhere right in there, because you've got an existing, the bones of an organization. Expansion is really hard because you have to build everything from zero. When you buy a team, you can fire everybody and start again, but you've got the guts of an organization. So expansion's always much harder. So Adam Silver's out there looking at ownership groups and saying, all right, we've got one place where it's a team in existence. Then we've got one place where you all think it'll work, Vegas, and we don't really know whether it will work for yet another professional sports team there. Or maybe we'll go back to Seattle, where they're dying to have a team again, or Vancouver, where they're dying to have a team again, and will pay more money than if they had just kept the original team. So all these different balls are in the air, and I just think Portland is one of those balls.
We hope so, too, here in Portland. David Samson, you can check out his show, Nothing Personal with David Samson, every day on YouTube, at David P. Samson on Twitter. Go give him a follow, former president of the Marlins. We always appreciate the time and the insight, my man. Hopefully we can do this again soon. Thanks as always.
Take care. Have a great day. Thank you.
You too. David Samson, there you go. Nothing Personal with David Samson.
Boy, that's a hot take.
That's a take, man. That's a take that I can believe in. That's a message that will get me very happy.
I was talking about your take of refusing to ask him a Mariner question.
Oh, yeah, I'm not going to ask him a Mariner question. I don't care. Today's Daily Ticker presented by Pelican Brewing Company. The return of warmer weather. Pelican Brewing brings back its summer seasonal beer, Pelicano, available in clear glass bottles. It's refreshment that you can see. Sounds like a delightful thing to do on an 80-degree day. 80-degree day.